this is the equation of a line, but it's written in standard form. If you're asked to find the slope and the y-intercept, it has to be in slope-intercept form. Because in slope-intercept form, once we rearrange it, we know that the slope is always the coefficient of x. Right now, that's not the slope because it's not in slope-intercept form. Does that make sense? You can only figure out the slope, which is the coefficient of x, so whatever number's in front of x is always a slope, when it's in this form, which means that you have to isolate y. If it's not in this form, then you can't say, oh, this is the slope and this is the y-intercept. No, that's not true. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is isolate our y. Okay, so we're trying to get this variable, y, by itself. This is basically just rearranging an equation. Here's our equal sign. I'm going to draw an imaginary line here, right? And we have the left side of the equation, and we have the right side of the equation. Basically, by the end of this, we want to have y equals something. So we need to put everything else on the other side of the equation. Yeah.
So
we're basically trying to get rid of this 5x, and we're trying to get rid of this positive 10. We're going to keep this negative 2y here.
Oh, so
yeah. First step. So to get rid of 5x's, we have to take away 5x's, right?
Because it's positive.
Yeah, this is a positive. The opposite of adding something is subtracting. 5x, take away 5x, cancels out. It gets rid of it. But whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side. So we've done 5x, take away 5x here. And on the right side, we have 0. And we have to take away the 5x.
So then
we still have the plus 10. Right?
Yeah.
We still have this plus 10, so we have to get rid of that as well. We're gonna leave this negative 2y. We're just gonna keep that for now. We're not doing anything with that.
So then
but we want to get rid of the plus 10. What's the opposite of plus 10? Good. So this is gone. 5x take away 5x is 0. We have positive 10 take away 10, right? We're taking away 10 because we want to get rid of it. So if we take away 10 from the left side, what do we have to do to the right side?
You gotta do the same thing.
Right, so take away 10.
Take away
and 10 take away 10 is 0. And on the right side, we have negative 5x.
Wait, 10
take away 10. Good. Just the negative 2y on the left side.
Is equal to...
Just write it as you see it. Negative 5x, take away 10. We haven't done anything with that yet. We can't take 10 away from a term with a variable. These are two separate terms, right?
Yeah.
So I can't take that away from each other. So, remember, our main goal was to isolate y. Well, right now we have negative 2 times y, right? What's the opposite of multiplying a number and a variable? What's the opposite of multiplication?
Dividing.
Good. So if I divide this by what?
2.
Positive or negative?
Negative.
Good, because I need to divide it by itself, because negative 2 divided by negative 2 is actually 1. But if I put a 1 here, it doesn't change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
just
still a
becomes y.
Exactly. So we divided the left side by negative 2, so we actually have to divide each term on the right side by negative 2. We have to divide this by negative 2, and we have to divide this by negative 2.
So 5 over...
So yes, it's smart to keep this as a fraction, because when you're dealing with slope, if we keep it as a fraction, we know we're able to see the rise over the run, and it will be easier to graph. So we can simplify it by saying that a negative divided by negative is a positive, so it's actually 5 over 2x, and then what's negative 10 divided by negative 2? Negative divided by negative is positive, and then what's 10 divided by 2?
Sorry.
Good. Okay, so the final answer is y equals 5 over 2x plus 5. And this is the answer in slope-intercept form. So now, if I were to ask you, going back to the original question, this was the equation in standard form. Both of these represent the exact same thing. They're just rearranged. They're written differently. Now that it's in slope-intercept form, can you tell me what is the slope of this line and what is the y-intercept? Rise over run, I already wrote it here. So the rise would be 5 and the run would be 2. And what is the y-intercept of this line?
The y-intercept is 5.
Good. So if you were to write that as a coordinate,
it's
located at As a coordinate, it's always going to be located at 0 and then whatever the intercept is. And I'm going to explain that when we graph it. Because if you look at a graph and you start at 0, if the x value, if you need a coordinate x, y, if x is 0 and you go along the y-axis, anything that starts with a 0 will be on the y-axis, which means it's going to intercept the y-axis. Once you've rearranged it into slope-intercept form, you have to know how to graph it. And like I said, once it's in slope-intercept form, we can easily recognize the slope, which we identified, and the y-intercept, which is positive 5. So we always start with the y-intercept. Okay? So the first point you're going to plot is what? What is the y-intercept?
The y-intercept is 5.
Good. So we're going to
put
0, 5. 0, 5, yeah. So that we're going to start with that. And the first point at 0, positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the first point. So we know that whichever way this line goes, if it's whatever direction, it has to pass through that point, right? So even just by looking at this equation, is the slope positive or negative?
Positive.
Right. So we know, I don't know if you remember this, but all lines that are positive, that have a positive slope, will always rise to the right. Do you remember that? So we know that this has to go in that direction. If we draw it this way, we know it's wrong. It has to be rising to the right. Anything with a negative slope would fall to the right. Okay? So we can go up or down, doesn't matter, and I'll show you both ways. But the rise, and this is why your teacher told you to put rise over run. This line, so this line is going to rise by positive 5. So I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just
up
counting.
5 from there?
From the y-intercept, yep. Because we know it has to go through that point. And then it's going to go across, so to the right. So going up is positive, and going to the right is positive, right? A positive and a positive make a positive.
Oh.
So this is the next point. Does that make sense?
So then it stops there.
Now, we can also go down, because if we have negative 5 over negative 2, that's still a positive slope, right? It doesn't change our slope. Now, if we go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, moving on a graph going down is a negative. And then would I go to the left or right?
You'd go to the left.
Good, because that's negative 2. And that's my next point. Here. And do you see how the line is straight? It has to be straight because it's linear.
Like that?
Perfect. And I can keep going. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. I can just keep going. I can go up another 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Rise over run. We can just extend this as long as we need to. In this equation, y equals negative 2 over 3x minus 2. This here tells me that the slope is negative. I can write that fraction as negative 2 over positive 3, or positive 2 over negative 3, right? Or negative, in front of the whole fraction, 2 over 3. All of these mean the same thing. This is telling me that my slope is negative. It's a negative slope.
But wouldn't this create a different slope?
Watch. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so where's our starting point?
0, negative 2.
Good. We're going to start with the y-intercept, which is 0, negative 2. That's our b. So let's graph that. Okay, I want you to do it on your paper.
Can I do it on?
You have to start at 0, negative 2, which is here. Now let's start with this one. How would this tell me how to draw the line?
So you'd go 2 down.
Right, 2 down. So
and 3 to the right.
1, 2, and then 3 to the right, correct. Now, just by connecting these 2 points here, remember we talked about earlier? Anything with a negative slope has to fall to the right or rise to the left, right? Mm-hmm. It has to go in this direction. Is this going in the correct direction? Okay, let's try this one. Positive 2 over negative 3. Again, we're starting from the starting point. Positive 2, we'd go up or down?
Up.
Good. 1, positive 2, and then left or right?
Oh, left.
1, 2, 3. Do you see?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Okay, so does that make sense? I don't know if I drew this probably 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I did. And I can go down again, down 2, over to the right 3, and so on. We can keep extending this. Okay.